My name is Leslie Arroyo, and I'm the Director of Communications for the City of South San Francisco. And for those of you who have joined us in past city halls, or city town halls rather, you've heard this before, but I just kind of want to reiterate how tonight's meeting will go. First, we have all of the lines muted, those of you that have joined, and that's simply just because of technology, and for these large phone calls to occur, it's hard to make an actual productive call when the lines are live, and we want to be able to hear what the speakers are saying. So people have sent us some questions in ahead of time, and we will get to those specific questions in just a bit. But if you have a question tonight during this town hall, there's 3 ways that you can do this. You can first email city@ssf.net, and we'll address your question there. You can also send a text if you're listening just via phone and you're not on your computer. You can text 650-294-0961. And I'll repeat that at 650-294-0961. And then if you are on your computer and you're joining us through this, there is a Q&A function, and you can submit a question that way and we'll go ahead and address it. So what we'll do is we'll go through the town hall. You'll hear from various folks here. And then we'll get to the questions at the end of the town hall. And then after the town hall happens, if a question comes up after the fact, please don't hesitate to email cityinfo@ssf.net. We will have a recording of this town hall on our website, as well as a list of all the resources and the PowerPoint that you're going to see this evening. And if you go simply to ssf.net, and if you go into the fire department, you'll see an emergency preparedness webpage, and that has all of the resources listed on that web page. So tonight's emergency preparedness town hall features our Vice Mayor Flor Nicholas, our Fire Chief Jess Magianis, Deputy Fire Chief Matt Sampson, and our Emergency Services Manager Ken Anderson. We also have on the call our Mayor Mark Nogales. We have our council members. We have our City Manager Mike Futrell. We've got our City Clerk Rosa Acosta. So we've got several folks on the line, and we're all here to answer your questions this evening. But with that, I'd welcome Vice Mayor Flor Nicholas, who will say a few words about the importance of emergency preparedness. So thank you for joining us, Vice Mayor Nicholas.
Thank you, Leslie, and good evening to all of you. I'd like to thank you all today for joining us for what I hope will be a very enlightening town hall. I hope you will be able to take away some very actionable items. Every year, the nation recognizes September as National Emergency Preparedness Month, reminding us to raise awareness about the importance of preparing for disasters and emergencies that could happen anytime. Almost 2 years ago, when we had a Sign Hill fire and some of our Sign Hill neighbors were asked to evacuate, I'm not sure how many were prepared. I was definitely rattled. I have to ensure that I take care of my 88-year-old mom's welfare. You know, she has a pacemaker, monitor, medications, and all that's required for us to evacuate just in case. Being very stressed was an understatement. This year's theme is a lasting legacy. What does it mean? The life we have built is worth protecting. Prepare for disasters to create a lasting legacy for you and your family. It's so incredibly important for all of us how we'll contact one another and reconnect if ever we get separated. Establish a family meeting place that's familiar and easy to find. There are many resources available to help us through this process. And tonight, you will be hearing from our fire department officials who will provide you with tools and things you should be thinking about now. Remember, that's not if, but rather when we'll have a natural disaster or emergency. I'd like to thank you all again for joining us tonight. And now I'll turn this back over to Leslie. Thanks.
All right, great. Thank you, Vice Mayor Nicholas. And now I'd like to introduce, for all of you if you've not met him, he's our Fire Chief, Jess Magianis, to say a few words.
Hi, thank you, Leslie. First, I'd like to thank Vice Mayor Nicholas for highlighting the importance of Emergency Preparedness Month, and Mayor Nogales, as well as all the council members, for allowing us this opportunity to address the community on this important topic. No one knows when or what type of emergency we'll be faced with, so it's important that we're always prepared. Just last week, there was a couple of 4+ magnitude earthquakes in Santa Rosa. We had a 2.3 earthquake in Broadmoor yesterday. And on the other side of the country, people in Florida are preparing for Hurricane Ian. And over the past few years, there have been dozens of evacuations throughout our state due to wildfires. Being prepared will help you and the people you care about better cope and be less stressed when a major emergency occurs. Tonight, our Emergency Services Manager, Ken Anderson, will share some helpful information for everyone to take action upon to better be prepared for an emergency in our community. Ken has been our Emergency Services Manager for 10 years. He is a National Emergency Management Institute Certified Disaster Preparedness Manager. He has been deployed to Florida after Hurricane Irma, as well as multiple emergency operations centers and communities throughout the state who have been affected by wildfires, such as Paradise, Monterey, and Santa Rosa, to name a few. Ken leads our city's community emergency response team and is very passionate about this city and emergency preparedness. You'll also be hearing from our Deputy Fire Chief, Matt Sampson, who will be sharing information on evacuation platform that he was involved in helping to create and design and implement in our county, and it's been adopted throughout the state. I'm very proud to have them as members of our team, and they are valuable resources to the city. So please take advantage of the information that they'll be sharing this evening. Once again, thank you all for your time.
All right, great. Thank you, Chief Magallanes. And next, I'd like to introduce our Deputy Fire Chief, Matt Sampson, and as you heard about, our Emergency Services Prepared Manager, Ken Anderson. Did I say, I hope I didn't say Matt Sampson, and our Emergency Services Manager, Ken Anderson, who will give us all an overview on how best to be prepared during emergency. So Matt and Ken, I'll let you two take it from here.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Vice Mayor Flora Nicholas. That was a great opening. Sounds like you're ready to fill in for my job when I go on vacation. So good job. Thank you. And thank you to everybody who's online tonight on Zoom following this webinar and this town hall. So hopefully you'll pick up some nuggets and we'll get better prepared as a whole community. So what is emergency preparedness? Emergency preparedness refers to the preventive measures taken before a disaster strikes to reduce the effects of that disaster on your property, your family, and your life. The goal is to lessen the impact on your life and prepare the whole community and create a plan that makes the most of your resources and help reduce the efforts needed to keep the community safe. That's the FEMA book version of emergency preparedness. Tonight we'll share exactly what that means through this webinar as well, but I wanted to give that little blurb of what is emergency preparedness. And a lasting legacy. So this year's National Preparedness Month is based on building a kit for the family or being prepared as a family. And so to build a lasting legacy, let's start with our children. They are the future and an important part of building a national culture of preparedness. So I will say around the 4th grade age is a perfect age to start talking about children and to start teaching them how to be ready for disasters. It's important for kids to understand how to stay safe and navigate potentially scary situations. And I will tell you that the ready.gov website has many cool tools for children to learn about disaster preparedness and has lots of good information on there for children. So please, if you have time, go to ready.gov and /kids, and there's plenty of great information on there. So the life you've built is worth protecting. Prepare disasters to create a lasting legacy for you and your family. And that includes everybody in the family. Okay, a lasting legacy, a little bit more here. The how and why to start that building of a lasting legacy. The best protection before disaster happens is to get involved and be prepared in your community. During a serious disaster, all the resources and services we take for granted may be shut down. How a whole community comes together is to help one another during a crisis. All depends on preparation. To help you prepare at home, It's helpful to imagine that you have no telephone service, no electricity, no gas, no water, and no sanitation service. Imagine that all the businesses are closed and all services are shut down. What will you do? What will you need at home and help until help arrives? So we're asking you to take part in emergency preparedness, and it's imperative that the community takes necessary steps to be prepared for at least 72 hours and be prepared maybe even longer, up to a week. So we're saying 72 hours is a good starting point, but more than likely it's going to be a week. And be prepared for 72 hours. You must be self-sufficient and not have to rely on anyone else for basic needs. And once again, this year's theme focuses on comprehensive plan for you and your family.
And if I could just jump in here real quick and just emphasize the 72-hour piece, because in a large-scale disaster, especially regionally here in the Bay Area, the amount of available resources to respond is somewhat limited when numerous other communities around us are impacted. So we're going to do everything we can and prepare the best we can to make sure we can take care of as many of our residents as possible. But preparing for 72 hours for yourself, your family, your neighbors, your extended family, that will help us quite a bit. And we expect to be able to get supplies in around that time. But up to that point, we really ask for your help to help prepare, because it's going to make the entire outcome much better for everybody.
Plan to prepare. So some of the important things you will learn tonight are knowing how to receive emergency alerts and warnings, knowing your evacuation route, and we'll share a little bit about our software program that we have for our city and our county, coordinate plans with family and neighbors, and have a family communication plan, and assemble emergency supplies. So we'll talk about how to build a kit and how to build a go bag. So what should you prepare for, right? So obviously in the city of South San Francisco, we don't have to prepare for a volcano erupting, but it is important to understand where we live and what type of disasters we might incur here in the city of South San Francisco. So generally speaking, we have two types of disasters, natural and man-made. Earthquakes are a natural disaster, and we all know we live in earthquake country, right? We've been told over and over to be ready for the big one. And so earthquakes are one of our disasters we should be preparing for. Weather events. So I would say this is probably another good one for us to prepare for. And with wind and rain comes along with flooding and then also power outages. So we have a storm come over and stall over our city, and then now we have copious amounts of rain, and then we get flooding, and we can also get wind causing power outages. So now we have kind of like three disasters all happening at once. So those are some of the, and then of course, like Vice Mayor Flora Nicholas talked about, we do have Sign Hill and San Bernardino Mountain on the outskirts of our city and in our city. So wildland fires is probably something we should be preparing for as well. And then when we talk about man-made disasters, acts of terrorism. Chief, is there anything else you want to add to those?
I think that's comprehensive. Thanks, Ken.
Mm-hmm. All right, who to prepare for. So preparedness is a shared responsibility. It calls for the involvement of everyone, not just the government, in preparedness efforts. By working together, everyone can help keep the community safe from harm and help keep it resilient when struck by a disaster. So it's pretty important. This is where we want to talk about, once again, getting kids involved, individuals and family members, and including those with access and functional needs. Pets, don't forget your pets, and we'll talk a little bit more about that one in our go bag section. But don't forget to include your pets, and then don't forget checking on your neighbors, and then extending family members, anybody else who lives in our city or around in our county or maybe in the region. And then don't forget, you could be at work, right? So employees and coworkers also. So be prepared at home and be prepared at work as well. And then don't forget to check on your school district's plans for emerging and disasters. So you want to know what that school district is going to be doing with your children if they're in school as well. Maybe you want to plan ahead for accessible transportation in case you have somebody with access and functional needs. So making sure that they have transportation. You also want to make sure that anybody who has additional medical information for your family members in saved on your electronic devices. And then if you have folks who are who have access and functional needs, you want to make sure you have some extra devices, such as an extra cane or walkers, especially if the power's out or they lose power to their electric wheelchair. So let's talk about an emergency kit. Emergency kit is something you have if you're going to be sheltering at home, and maybe we've had a major earthquake, and now you have lost your phone service and your power and your water and so on and so on, and now you're going to be sheltering at home. Okay, so sheltering in place for a while. After the emergency, you may need to survive on your own for several days. We talked about that. So maybe up to 72 hours. And so you want to take your canned food section of your kept food collection and have a can opener, and think of things that you can have in a can that you won't necessarily have to cook. Okay. So some great things that you can have kept in your food supply for your kit could be canned foods such as some beans and other type of high protein bars. Water, food, and shelter are your three important things. So having 72 hours of water is important, and that's 1 gallon per person. And that's just for drinking and a little bit of sanitation. So that's not including, taking a shower or anything like that. So having at least 1 gallon per person per day for drinking, and a little bit of help you with cooking, and if you have that capability to cook on a camping stove or something. The kit should be designed, as it says here, to last you and your family up to 72 hours and up to a week. Assemble your kit and store airtight plastic bags and or kit bins, and then take some tape and label when you put the items in there, such as when you put your batteries in there, when you started storing your water, and then change those things out every 6 months. So especially your water, and then keep track of your snack items that you have in your emergency kit as well. And then once again, don't forget to consider any special needs such as medicine, pet needs, diapers and feminine supplies, and toilet paper, et cetera, et cetera. If you remember early on when COVID hit, toilet paper was a hot item as well as paper towels.
But Ken, those are good points. And I think one of the things that's often forgot is medicine, especially if it's a required medicine and you're going to be preparing for up to a week, to make sure you never run below a certain amount for that, keep your prescription filled. And then pets have medicines too. So those should be included in that. And then of course, plenty of food for the pet as you're moving forward, because they're going to want to eat as well, and water as well for the pet.
Yes, store 1 week of supply of non-perishable food that doesn't need refrigeration. That's an important part, because if the power's out for an extended amount of time, sooner or later you're going to lose that ability to keep items fresh in your refrigerator and freezer. So start there if you have to, and then once again go back to those, beans, pasta, vegetables, manual can opener to open those foods. And like the chief said, vitamins, protein, energy bars, and comfort snacks. Some really good ones are moist towelettes, especially if you're going to be without water for a while. Garbage bags, because they can be used for anything, right? They can be used for personal sanitation. They can be used as a poncho. They can be used to store stuff and keep things secure. So it's always good to have some garbage bags in your emergency kit. And then like here, it's important for family documents such as copies of insurance policies, identification, and bank account records to be saved electronically or in a waterproof portable container. Or even better yet, what I do is I have a brother who lives way up north and out of our region. He lives up towards the Oregon border. And what we do is we shared information, and he has a lot of our duplicate documents that we made copies of, and also a few photo albums that we've made copies of. And then that way If I need to get those important documents, I don't have to go to a safe deposit box to a bank and find out when they open. So having somebody who lives kind of out of the area or maybe in another state is a good way of keeping those other items that you see here in a safe location that it won't be affected by the disaster. And it's super important to do that because if you do have major damage to your home, such after a flood or a fire or an earthquake, then you'll need a lot of information to help you start the rebuilding process. So having a lot of that stuff, insurance policy information and other documents that you will need copies of your personal information are going to be very important to have access to.
Yeah. No, and Ken, and those are really good points, especially as we move into a more digital age. And what some folks are electing to do is copy those stuff electronically to a cloud type service they'd be able to access outside the area. But like Ken said, one of the biggest hangups to repopulation or regrowth back into a community after a disaster is finding the insurance policies, finding the paper trail to keep you up to date and actually allow you to make the moves to regain your money to be able to move back in. And not having those can be quite a bit of a challenge. So anytime you can make copies of those, save those electronically, something portable that you bring with you, or even save them up to the cloud makes a big difference when you're going to look for that information.
All right, emergency go bag. So this is the bag you want to have access to in case you're asked to leave, within 30 minutes or right now, right? So this should be just like your emergency kit should be made for you as an individual, or you can have a family go bag as well. If there's just a small couple members of your family, you can have either an emergency go bag for each person or one big bag to go for your family and maybe a child or two. Should include cash. So once again, in low denominations, because you don't want to be handing that merchant a $20 bill and he or she not be able to make change for you. So having it in ones and fives in a mixture. I think we have around $100 in our emergency go bag in cash, and make sure that if you do dip into that you replenish that cash. If you're going to spend some money, I always tell everybody the flashlight is where to spend some money. Have a good watertight flashlight, and then don't forget those extra batteries. Like the chief said, medication, especially if you need to take medication every day, have some backup medication in your go bag. Comfortable shoes are a winner. Just ask a lot of our employees here. Comfortable shoes, if you're going to be on your feet for a long time, everybody knows if your feet are comfortable and your head is dry, you're going to have a good 24 hours. So comfortable shoes. Here are some important things. We can't live without these things. So portable phone chargers, making sure you have those type of devices in your go bag are important. Multi-tool, and that could be something such as a multi-tool with a knife on there, Phillips screwdriver, regular screwdriver, and something that you can saw with and cut with. And then of course your favorite water and snacks.
Right, and Ken, I think you touched on a really interesting point that the phone, we've become so dependent on the phone for everything. And disaster, that's one of the things that's expected not to function in the same manner it does now. And the Bay Area really hasn't been tested with a large-scale disaster in the cell phone era. And so the dependence on that's going to be, I think, an Achilles heel for us all. So having the ability to continually charge it outside of a standard power source is really important, the big battery bricks like that. And then also be able to think about ways to communicate without it. And then the shoes, it's funny, I smile when you say that, but that's one of the biggest after action reviews of 9/11 events, is that when the folks exited those buildings, they were all at work in business attire, which meant not very comfortable shoes, and many of them were forced to walk miles and miles and miles, and so they just didn't have the ability to move quickly for that, or they were left in bare feet. So think about your feet. Important.
And I love the weather in South San Francisco, and I would say maybe a hoodie is also good, because our evenings tend to be we get Carl the fog rolling in, which I love. I've been born and raised here in South San Francisco, so I love the cool evenings. But if you're going to be outside, majority of it, it's good to have a hoodie. And then don't forget those pets. If you have a cat or dogs, I have 2 dogs now. have a sounds funny, but have an emergency go bag for your pets. You know, make sure you have accessibility to maybe a carrier to carry those animals in, especially if you're going to be on the go and asked to evacuate, because you know they're going to feel your stress. The pets will feel your stress, and so it's important to make sure you have some water in their favorite bowl, and then also maybe a favorite toy that you know if a cat or dog loves to have, and then don't forget some kibble and some food for them as well. Thank you, Chief.
Okay. And so I think if the first slide or the prior slide didn't help us, we've got one of Ken's best hits here to help us understand on how to make a go bag.
Hello, my name is Ken Anderson. I'm with the City of South San Francisco Fire Department. I'm the Emergency Services Manager. A bag. So how do I choose which one? What type? It's up to you. If you're a family, a big family, you want to have a bigger bag. If everybody in your family has an individual bag, then you want to have a smaller one. Fanny pack, backpack, it's up to you. Whatever you have, whatever color, it's up to you. Just pick a bag. A flashlight and spare batteries are very important. A really good flashlight could make your day or make your night. So please, if you're going to spend some money, a flashlight is where you want to do it. And don't forget to have those same type of batteries as backup power for that flashlight.
We have those.
And don't forget personal communication charging devices. So we're always on the go with your phone. You want to make sure you keep it charged. So charging devices are very important as well.
Got them.
And don't forget a basic first aid kit.
Have one.
And don't forget cash and credit cards. For the cash, make sure it's in small denominations. So 1s and 5s and 10s work good. And maybe 50 bucks worth. And then don't forget those important credit cards and identification. If you're going to be staying at a hotel overnight, you'll need the credit cards.
I have cash.
I know we're all wearing them, but don't forget your face coverings and masks. Have additional ones in your go bag ready to go.
I have one of those, but mine's better.
And don't forget snacks. We all love them, and they're very important when you're hungry. It doesn't matter what type or kind. Have the ones that you like, the ones that you will eat. Those are the important ones. Snacks.
I have a nutritional snack.
Don't forget prescription drugs. So if you take prescription drugs every day, have them in your go bag. Hydration, very important item. So hydration, whether it's a water bottle like this or a water bottle like this, hydration.
We got ours.
Now that you have some of these items, you have the beginnings of the bag ready to go.
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
I'm prepared, and I hope you are too.
There you go. I hope you laughed a little bit at that, but there is some great information in there about how to build a go bag. Okay, disaster preparedness training. So get involved, right? So part of being prepared is maybe getting involved in taking some courses. And CPR, first aid, and how to use an AED is a really good one, and doesn't take too much time. And then you're certified for 2 years. And if you want to learn more about when those classes are, you can call our fire admin at 650-829-3950, and they can tell you when those classes happen. They usually happen on Saturdays, and I think during December and January we don't have them because of the holidays, but majority of the months we have some type of first aid and CPR. Super important to be that first responder and know when the signs and symptoms of somebody who's in distress, and that's a great way to take action right away. Become a CERT member, and you're going to learn a lot about that coming up in a slide or two. And with that, if you're a ham radio operator, knowing that we have a ham net every Tuesday night, and you can become part of that. We'll tell you how do you become a CERT member, which is also another great way to volunteer in our city and learn important disaster preparedness skills.
That's right. And the first aid courses, outside of just being good information to have for everyday use during a disaster, you can actually be called upon to help your neighbors and family and make a big difference. And then also learn a little bit more about what you can put in a first aid kit to have ready to go too. So very important training.
All right, South San Francisco CERT. So let's start from the beginning. So the Los Angeles City Fire Department in the mid 80s began training its community in disaster preparedness skills. And I think in October of 1987, they had a pretty good earthquake, the Whittier Narrows earthquake that struck. And it really demonstrated that the training paid off, right? You see it all the time when a disaster happens. Who's there to help one another? It's us, right, as a community. So they said that, hey, if we could give them some training before something happened, they would be even more reliable, right? And we gave them some training, and I'm going to explain a little bit about what that is. And that's really FEMA caught on that the city of Los Angeles was doing this. And around 1993, FEMA built a curriculum with the city of Los Angeles Fire Department, and CERT was born. And now you can find CERT teams all around the nation. And in our city, CERT has, since 1994, the city of South San Francisco Fire Department has been teaching people confidence that should a situation arise, that they have the capabilities and training to react to the situation. Our CERT team is really made up of everyone from our community. They are some of the most amazing people you will ever meet, and they are all different, and they all will want to be part of our CERT program for many different reasons. And everybody brings skills that's super important to our team, and it's what makes CERT, it's what the beauty of CERT is all about, is those people coming together and helping our community. So some of the basic training, there's 9 core units in CERT. And some of the things you will learn as a CERT member are learning to suppress small fires. So we'll teach you about the fire triangle and how to use a fire extinguisher and put out small fires. Basic first aid, we talked about that a little bit. So everybody who joins our CERT team gets CPR certified and first aid adult certified, as well as using an AED. And they use also the ABC treatment for shock and related techniques that help with the first aid. So they also learn evacuation tactics and how to collaborate with city agencies to support neighborhood evacuations. We learn about search tactics, communications, including the use of radios, not only a ham radio, but radios that we carry on ourselves as a CERT member. A key factor for CERT members is the ability to spontaneously organize and activate themselves in the event of a major disaster. If there is a significant earthquake, phones and other communication, we talked about this, may be interrupted, and CERT members will know how to go, where to go, and how to organize our efforts. And really what they do is they add more power to our first responders. So they know that after a major disaster, they're going to take care of themselves first, and then they're going to step out on their porch and take care of their neighbors. And then if it's a really big earthquake, then they're going to respond to their closest fire station. And then they're going to help as a collection point at those fire stations. So really, anyone with a sense of community can become a CERT. If you become a CERT member, you will learn about a lot of important safety techniques. And we hope you want to become a CERT member. And if you do, then email me at cert@ssf.net to find out more and when we're going to have our next academy.
All right. Ken, that was very comprehensive, but from the operational standpoint from the fire department, so the public understands, if we're going to be successful after a major disaster, meaning be able to meet the needs of the response, CERT's going to be a critical piece of that, because they really do multiply the ability of the fire department and police department, all of emergency response to get the job done. And so they're a very valuable piece. So we appreciate it. We look forward to more interested folks.
And they're involved with a lot of things. You're absolutely right, Chief. They're also involved in a lot of other things. You know, during the pandemic, they were really big players in us being able to help feed the community, set up and activate testing sites and getting folks vaccinated. And they worked many long hours at those sites and getting them set up and then helping folks get through those sites as well. So, and we weren't able to over the last 2 years have a lot of training because we usually have training and meetings monthly, but they were very, very active, probably the most active they've been when it comes to helping support, just like the chief just said, with the police department, fire department, during the COVID situation, and even during the pandemic. So big kudos to them and thanks.
Yeah. The next slide, entitled Stay Alert, Stay Aware, is a list of all the different ways that we as a city and in partnership with the county are able to broadcast out emergency alerting, as well as updates throughout an emergency. So the best way for us to communicate to the public are single points or single channels, and we try to do that through a county-wide program. So meaning that if something happens in the community and we would like to be able to get it out immediately, we want to be able to send it out through a program we call Smc Alert. And it stands for San Mateo County Alert, and it's a county-wide program which you can opt into for free that will allow you to receive the alerts that South San Francisco puts out, or actually any jurisdiction within the county based on what you select. And you'll find out if something happens, what happened, and then also too, we can provide direction to what to do to be safe during that emergency, and then ultimately be able to alert the public or inform the public when it's safe to return back to their area should it be a big enough disaster and we had to evacuate. It's a very critical component of our communication plan, and we used it during the Sign Hill fire, and then actually recently during a PG&E outage that affected a large percentage of our community during their most recent heat wave. The website there, Smc Alert, and that link is both on our website. All of these links are on our website and also be available in this PowerPoint, but that's where you can go and sign up. And we encourage you and all of your family members to sign up because an alert will come right to your phone. And we do everything we can to make sure that we limit those alerts and notifications to just critical information. The second item on the list in terms of being able to increase your situational awareness is a program we call Know Your Zone. And that's, again, a countywide program through an evacuation management platform, which we'll go into a little bit, but it lets you know if the area you live or the area you are in is in danger and you need to evacuate, or if it's safe to remain in that area. And then as a form of redundancy, we try to back up our information and our alerting out to the public through our social media channels in partnership with the police department and then the city itself. We also add non-urgent alerts in there, but it's a great way to find out what the fire department, police department, and city are up to, and find out what's going on in town and how those departments are participating in that. So we encourage everyone to follow us on social media, as well as the police and the city.
Yeah, I would say Smc Alerts pretty important for folks to opt in. Like the chief said, that's the #1 way you're going to get real information, either from the fire department, the police department, and or the city. So it's pretty important that we notify you, and that's a very robust system. Thank you, Chief.
Knowing your way out, referencing the ability if you had to evacuate, how would you know to evacuate? How would you know if you're in the area that needs to be evacuated or safe to return? So about 3 years ago now, we as a county, South San Francisco as a city participating in a countywide project, got together and designed what we call predetermined evacuation zones. And we've broken the city into a bunch of different areas, and we've given them a unique identifier so that folks can identify what zone they're in. And from that zone, we can go ahead and label it as need for evacuation or safe to remain where you're at. We used this again for the Sign Hill fire in 2020. We're able to notify neighbors, or at least identify the communities that need to be evacuated when the hill was in danger of impacting the surrounding communities. This program also provides escape routes and allows us to identify what escape routes are to be used during a certain emergency. So knowing more than one way out of your neighborhood is important based on the direction from which the emergency is heading towards you. And it's actually now adopted throughout the Bay Area and much of California. So if you spend time outside of San Mateo County, you'll also be able to understand where you're at. And that website, again, is linked on our page, but it's community.zonehaven.com. And there's an area for you to type your address in. And once you type your address in, it'll identify what zone you're in, and then you can write that down. If you came to Concert in the Park on Saturday, we had magnets, know your zone magnets, where you can write them down. But if not, you reach out, we'll see if we can get those to you as well. It's a great way to put on your refrigerator, let everybody know where you're at. It's important too, if you work within the county, to find what zone you work in, or if you spend a lot of time in, or have family or friends in, so that you can understand where they are at too. And that website can be looked at it or referenced at any time to find out what zone or what's the status of your zone. And one of the other things we like to just make sure to remind everybody is when you're going to leave, it's the worst time to run out of gas. And so always, 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 if possible, keep your cars above 2/3 full in your tank. And now with electric vehicles becoming more and more prevalent, we encourage that same percent of charge in your vehicle. And then understanding that when the power goes out, you may or may not be able to charge your vehicle depending on your home system. So that should be considered in your emergency planning. We have a quick video here showing the evacuation program from the county's perspective.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Blankslade with San Mateo County Sheriff's Office.
I'm Deputy Chief Matt Sampson with the South San Francisco Fire Department.
We're going to talk to you a little bit about why it's important to follow evacuation orders when they're given.
Evacuations are a very important tool that first responders maintain so that we can safely and effectively get folks out of harm's way.
CAL FIRE and local law enforcement work closely together in a collaborative effort anytime there is an evacuation that's necessary.
It's not something we use lightly, and it's actually a tool we don't want to have to use unless we absolutely need to.
There's a reason why we evacuate zone by zone. This helps keep the flow of traffic moving smoothly, could help prevent collisions. Also, we don't want any undue congestion in the roadways. There might also be hazards such as trees down in the roadway, and we need to keep these pathways open for first responders to be able to attend to the emergency.
The Zone Haven evacuation platform, for the first time in our county, has brought law, fire, and emergency managers all together the same place so that we can plan for and properly execute evacuations in a very timely and systemic manner.
Safety is always the top priority.
All right. And
Nicely done, Chief.
Thanks, Ken. And that concludes our presentation for the evening, and we'll go ahead and turn it back over to Leslie for some questions from the public.
I didn't know, Matt, that you were a star in that video, so that was good to see. Thank you both, Matt and Ken, for everything that you provided, and this is really good tips. And I can't stress enough, if there's one big takeaway, is the Smc Alert for folks to sign up for. But as our Deputy Chief Matt Sampson and Ken Anderson, our Emergency Services Manager, alluded to, we did have a couple of questions that we did receive ahead of time. And again, I want to just say, if there are questions that you folks have, please feel free to go on the Q&A chat. We can address those. You can email cityinfo@ssf.net, or you can send a text to 650-294-0961. So what I'll do right now is go ahead and read the questions that we did get from folks ahead of time, and then feel free to send us questions if you have any more that we didn't answer tonight. So again, this is kind of a no-brainer, but it is how do I sign up for Smc Alerts? And so I'll let Ken just again remind folks, how do they sign up for SMC?
Yeah, Chief Sampson, can you go back to that, or Leslie, can we go back to that one page?
I think, Chief Sampson, you've got the, yeah.
There we go.
And we should put up that resources page, yeah.
Yeah.
There we
go. So it's like the Chief Sampson described, it is an opt-in. So you have to opt in and put your information in there. And I think one thing that's super important, we're not going to send you and load your email box with unnecessary information. This is for disaster purposes only. So, and it's like the Chief said, if you work in the county, if you have other folks that live in the county, or in our city, you can use it for pretty much the whole Bay Area. So put those addresses in, or put those phone numbers in. You can put your cell phone, you can put your home phone, and it will call and leave a voicemail. And also it can send a text and leave you a text, and then you can click on a link We can also send out questions to you as well via that SMC alert. And it's the best way, once again, it's the best way that you're going to get critical information during an event or disaster in our city. So you're getting it straight from us. And it's not secondhand, it's not what ifs, it's not, oh, did you hear? It's actual information. And it could be something as a simple alert during the drive home that our main artery in one of our cities has an accident, and now the road is going to be shut down for a couple hours. So it'll prepare you to reroute yourself on your way home if that's the way you travel. And that's a simple one that we would send out an SMC alert for. So I think I think you understand the importance. It is, like Leslie said and Sampson said, one of the most important things we can do after tonight's meeting.
Great, thank you, Ken. Another question that came in is how do I know what evacuation zone I live in? And where can I find that particular zone's status?
Right, and that's a good question. The Zonehaven community platform, community.zonehaven.com, and again, that link will be here and then on our website, takes you right to what they call their community awareness site. So you'll see a map of, zoom down San Mateo County, but you'll see it for the entire state. And you can type your address in, and that will bring you right to where your zone is and what county you're in. And it will also let you know who's responsible for the law enforcement and fire responsibilities in that zone. It'll let you know possible evacuation routes, and then once we get them, during an emergency, we'll inform you of which ones to use. But it also lets you know the status of your zone. And what I mean by that is normal operations, like we're at right now, no issues. Or if there's an evacuation warning coming, meaning get prepared, or an actual evacuation order, which means get your stuff and it's time to get out. And then also we have another status, it's called shelter in place. So depending on the status of the emergency or what type of emergency it is, it might be in our best interest to keep everyone in their home. And so we can communicate that out as well. But you'd have to go to the website to actually see that.
And Leslie, they work hand in hand, right? So like the chief just greatly described the use of Zonehaven and the Where site. If you know what zone you live in, that's half the battle. But if you don't opt into SMC Alert, then we can't tell you which zones are going to be evacuated unless you're following our social media as well. That's another way that you're going to get true information from us as well. So we'll use both. But if you're not opted into SMC Alert, but you know what zone you live in, then we can't tell you what zone's being evacuated or under a warning or shelter in place unless you opt into SMC Alert. So they need each other.
Sure. You know, this is actually, the next question that we got is actually a really good question. And something I question all the time too is, where should we keep our go bag? You know, do you keep it in the car? Do you do a separate one at home? How, you know, what is the best? Do you have multiple bags? You know, that's a question my family and I talk about all the time.
Yeah. So for me, I like to have one at work, and then I like to have one at home. So that way, you know, if you're gonna put your go bag in your car, then don't forget at the end of the evening when you're going, you know, nowadays at the end of the evening, you take that bag inside, right, Leslie? So that you don't, you know, someone sees a bag now, sometimes they'll you know, want to steal that bag. So I would say if you can't hide it in your trunk, which is a great place, keep one in your trunk. But also having one at your home is probably the best bet, and then having one at work. And then if you're asked to leave, like the chief said, make sure your gas tank is at a good level. Grab that go bag. You know, you have all your important information in that go bag, and enough for you to hang in there for 24 hours, and then you're out. So really, there's no great question. If in the perfect world, I would say have one everywhere, but you just can't do that. My wife hates it because I take my go bag everywhere I go. It's just it's like part of my work bag. So it's like my purse, my man purse.
I see our mayor wants to say a few words here. Mayor Mark Nogales.
Thank you, Leslie. It's more, first of all, thank you to Vice Mayor Nicholas and everyone here putting this important event. Actually, I have a question. So I have 2 kids, and we talk about emergency preparedness. And Ken, maybe you can tell me what's the best way to plan with kids, especially if parents are working, obviously, in their offices and the kids are in school, what's the best plan in terms of coordinating with the child?
Yeah, for us, it's having a really good neighbor or a family member who lives in your area who they can go to. So practicing your communication plan. So making sure that they are aware also of some important phone numbers. And if they don't have electronic devices that they can store that information in, then making sure that they know their phone number and then of that relative or friend in the neighborhood that they can stay with, so that if they need to, then they can call ahead and or just go to that house, have a safe place. You know, we send our kids when they were younger, now they're all young adults, across the street, and we got to know our neighbors, and they would do the same thing. So if something happened in their family, they would send them to our house, and then we would send them to their house. And then once again with the school, just knowing what that school plan is and what they're going to do with your child if there's an earthquake or some type of disaster. How long are they going to keep them? When do you need to get them? And who's going to pick them up? So make sure that the people who you have put on the paperwork that you turn into the school are the people who are picking them up, because if they're not, then those people can't pick them up. So your communication plans start there. Make sure they know important numbers. Make sure they have a safe spot for them to go to. If they're going to do one thing, don't call, use text. Texting is a pretty robust system. It's been around a long time. And what we do is if we have a little bit of shaking on the ground, even as adults, our kids are adults and have kids themselves, we text each other. So it's good for me as a first responder to know that my 4 children and my wife are okay, and they've gone or they're still at home. And then once I see those texts all come through, then it's pretty easier for me to go back to work and focus on mitigating the incidents that are happening in our city. Anything else you want to add to that, Chief Sampson or Chief Magianes?
I'd say the only interesting piece about children too is when you start looking 72 hours out, I think anything that could take their mind away from a disaster and so that they're not truly experiencing what's going on, almost protect them a little bit. And I grew up in hurricane country, so we had a lot of board games that we kept around. So our parents would make sure that we understood this was, or took the stress away from the kids, and those types of things help a lot.
I'll tell you, we've had a lot of fun building a go bag with my granddaughter. She's going to be 10, and man, when we go to Target, she's always pointing out to me something cool to add to her go bag. And like Chief Sampson has said, she's getting really, really good at jacks. And jacks is she's got that in her go bag as a thing to keep her mind off of what's happening. But I would say involve them in the communication side, and then even building a go bag and having their own go bag. And it's pretty cool. She's bought her own water bottle and things like that. She's using her money on when she goes shopping at Target. Good question. Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, thank you. And again, thank you to the Vice Mayor for organizing this important kind of talk. So thank you, Vice Mayor Nicholas, for doing this.
You know, we talk about the go bag and again, should it be in the car? Should it be at work? Should it be at home? But is there anything in particular that, and this is a question that came up from a resident, is there anything that we should keep in our car?
Yeah, I mean, flashlight, flares, maybe some written phone numbers in case you're outside of a zone or you don't have phone. There are some spots where you can't get phone service. So if you have to go and borrow a landline phone, having those phone numbers written down on some important ones written down might be good. Some snacks. We carry a case of water around in the back of our Suburban, and it really upsets my wife because it takes a lot of space, but we use it a lot. That case of water does not have to be changed out because it's constantly getting drank by the grandkids and by our family. So water is a good one. Water is probably the most important thing we can store. So water anywhere, even in your go bag, a bottle or two is a good thing to have. Anything else, Chief Sampson?
No, car space is so limited.
Yeah.
Small multi-tool, a few different things like that can help make a difference. I think even outside of disaster, just in case you need some stuff in your car, but those types of things work well.
I know hand sanitizer is a good one, Leslie, and the wipes are really good. We have tons of those in our glove boxes and all around the Suburban as well. So hand sanitizer, especially nowadays. And then wipes are really good too as well.
Yeah. We did get a question on our chat feature here, and somebody said, if we have livestock like horses, et cetera, and we're evacuated, how can they check on them?
It's a good question. And I think what's been interesting growth point out of a lot of these big disasters, specifically fires, are that they're actually animal rescue type organizations that will come into an area and assist, or there's a peer network of assistance based on other folks that have the same type of animal stock somewhere a little bit further from the area, and they can trade depending on where the actual impact is. But that takes a little bit of planning and a little bit of research in the area that you're at, what organizations covering that area, as well as what other agreements you can have with folks that also have livestock that would be willing to take it should a disaster hit here but not affect their area.
Yeah, and I would also say as part of the recovery, we'll bring in specialists if we know we have large animals, especially in the part of the city that is able to have those large animals. What is the unincorporated area of our city where you'll see some of those large animals? And like the chief said, we have a really good large animal recovery team in our county now. They're going to be really busy as well, especially if it affects the disaster affects the county or the city as a whole. So, but yeah, we have really good communication with them, and they do a lot of training for our CERT team and for us. We see them at our Disaster Preparedness Day. And then, like I said, as part of the recovery, we're going to bring specialists in to find and locate those animals, get them back to the owners, get them back onto their property, and then make sure they're a veterinarian sees them, and then that they're fed and get water as well on a constant schedule. So I just got deployed to Plumas County, and that was a big part of what I was doing in Plumas County, was a lot of large animals roaming around during the fire and after the fire.
Well, and as a follow-up, Ken, to that question is they're wondering, should we register our livestock with the county?
Yeah, that's especially important if they're going to be roaming around because no one's there to watch them, and if they're going to get out of their fencing and then be roaming around the unincorporated area. It'll be a great way for us to understand where those animals go back to, just like, I guess, putting a chip in your dog or cat.
Sure. Well, and again, and for those that are asking specific questions about this, and if we're not giving you a specific detailed answer that you need, you can always email cityinfo@ssf.net, and we can even provide you with more specific answers to your particular situation. So another question that came in is where are the emergency shelters?
Yeah, well, okay, so we have pre-scheduled shelters that we know that we can open and that have been vetted with American Red Cross, and not only that, but with our city. Majority of them are schools and city buildings, and then we have a few private buildings that we could use as well. And then we have the 3 community colleges that are part of our sheltering plan. So we have Kenyatta College in Redwood City, we have College of San Mateo, and then Skyline College just above us here in San Bruno, right on the border of San Bruno and South City, that we could use as a mega shelter if need be. Those are the 3 big shelters that we could open, and probably would be really good for folks who have access and functional needs. Those are going to be our big mega shelters. But we have a lot of shelters that we can use. A lot of it depends on what part of the city is affected by the disaster and what structures are standing after the disaster, earthquake, or flood, or whatever the case may be, fire. So they could be churches, they can be city buildings, they could be school district buildings. So we have a pretty good cache. We're pretty lucky in our city of plumb buildings that we know, and we have a trailer that has sheltering supplies in it in our city, so we can put that anywhere we need it to be and open a shelter. Pretty much, we've opened one at the MSB building. We've opened one a couple years ago when we had a residential fire in an apartment building. We opened a city building, and we used that for a shelter for, I think, 11 days. So a lot of it just depends on the type of the event or disaster, and then what's left that we can use in our building stock to use safely enough as a shelter.
Can I piggyback on that just a little bit? And it's going to kind of dovetail to stuff that we've already been trying to emphasize throughout this meeting, but SMC Alert and our Twitter and Facebook pages, you'll get all that information, because it'll vary, as Ken said, depending on the type of disaster, the location of disaster. We may access different locations, but we won't know necessarily until we're kind of in the thick of it, and then we'll be messaging that information out, and hopefully we'll get it out through the media, but initial information will come through SMC Alert and through our social media.
And Chief Magallanes, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to just reiterate, again, signing up for SMC Alert is going to give you the immediate information as to, because another person chatted saying, where do we go? Where would we, and you will get that information via text on your cell phone, if there is a situation happening. So,
Leslie,
again, yes.
Can I go back to that livestock question? So just like we just talked about sheltering for humans and pets, we also will open a shelter for livestock. So if we find livestock roaming around, we'll try to corral them and then find transportation to get them to that shelter for livestock. And majority of the time, if it will more than likely be the county fairgrounds that we will be sheltering those livestock animals. So in our emergency plan for our county and the cities, that's one of the locations that we will take livestock to is the county fairgrounds. And we will store and keep those animals there until folks can come and pick them up and prove that they're theirs.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate that. Just in the interest of time, I do want to just give people one last moment. Again, if you have a question, we have the Q&A chat feature to send a question, or you can send us an email at cityinfo@ssf.net. I don't see any more in our Q&A chat here at this point. But in the meantime, I do want to just, I see up on our screen here, this is really our best source of information that both Ken and our Deputy Chief, Matt Sampson, have put together. And again, as I mentioned, if you missed the beginning of this town hall, we are going to put a copy of this recording on our website. We will have this PowerPoint with all the resources available there, but the best place to go is ssf.net. And if you go to the fire department's site, you'll see a whole page dedicated to emergency preparedness. So at this point, I don't see any other Q&As coming in on our chat feature. So I am going to go ahead and just, again, in the interest of time, turn this back over to our Vice Mayor to say a few last closing words.
Thank you very much, Leslie, and thank you, Mayor Nogales, for allowing this to happen and helping set this up. Thank you also to our manager, Mike Futrell. I would like to thank all of our fire department personnel, especially our fire chief, deputy fire chief, and emergency services manager, for presenting this really helpful information. I urge everyone not to wait. Make your plan today. In addition to all of the wonderful resources provided to you this evening, please also visit ready.org online for a wealth of resources at your fingertips. Again, thank you for taking the time out of your evening to join us for this important town hall. This concludes our town hall for tonight. Have a very good evening. Thank you.
Vice Mayor, can we plug our flu clinic? So we're gonna be having a flu clinic.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Yes, October 8th. If you want to come by for free, get vaccinated for the flu. It's October 8th, right? From what, 10 to 2?
Yes, from 9 to 1.
9 to 1.
Yeah.
9 to 1 at the
9 to
city.
1 at the City Hall parking lot.
Come by and see us.
Avoid the pandemic.
Yeah. And we'll have plenty of Kaiser nurses there to vaccinate folks. You don't have to register and pick a schedule. Come on by and see us, and we'll get you vaccinated on October 8th at the
City Hall
parking lot behind City Hall. Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. Just wanted to put that in there.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Ken, for reminding me. There's just a lot of things happening in our city. And so thank you again. And we'll see you on Saturday, October 8th to get your flu vaccine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. And thank you all for joining us.